have kids who are looking for something like swim lessons, and all of a sudden the first thing they saw was our ad, right? So hadn't heard anybody mention that before, and sometimes I forget about it.
They told us that because the rec center is not in our town, that we couldn't do anything with them. Because it was in McCungy, we're in Emmaus, we're like 2 miles away from the rec center.
Mm-hmm.
And our schools are in Emmaus and Upper McCungy. They were like, no, if you don't have a business in our town, we won't let you advertise or do anything with us.
How did they know?
Because they ask you where your business is.
Yeah, and if the mailing address is their town, that your zip code, did they like go private eye on you?
I mean, you put your address on it, that would be
You know, for years is every one of our locations, I listed in the ad, you know, for instance, the location is actually in Westminster. So the ad said we had a location in Arvada, Golden, Wheat Ridge, Broomfield, Thornton, Northcliffe, right? So it says every one of those things. Why? Because I want the person who lives, you know, in the adjacent community to say, oh, they've got one there, right? I used to have other martial arts guys get mad. They'd say, you're listing 22 locations in that ad and you've only got 6. Of course, my initial reaction was, what the fuck do I give a shit about your opinion for, right? But the other side of it is it didn't, all that matters, I mean, again, I see a lot of ads that says 142-345 Southwest 29th Ave. No, I mean, it's, at most, it's the cross streets, 120th in Colorado and the city, but I'd much rather have the listing of every city they might be in if they come to my location. And again, that example I used, if I had one location that was Westminster, Colorado, I know that it pulls from Golden, Arvada, Broomfield, North Glen, Federal Heights, and so I'm going to have all those listed there, right? And in this case, you say, yeah, we have one in done. Yeah. See, rule number 1 of entrepreneurship is not to let petty little stupid bureaucrats and rules get in your way, right? Yes. Well, and again, I mean, it's like getting into an elementary school. How do you do it? Well, you try this, if that doesn't work, 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 you go this way, if that doesn't work, you go this way. And if that doesn't work, you get the PTA president who happens to be a student, or the, you know, the mom who volunteers in the 2nd grade class to start doing, I mean, and my rule of thumb in an elementary school is all I was looking for is a fan. You know, if I had to talk to the after-school director, 3 teachers, the PE teacher, the vice principal, the principal, as soon as I got a fan, now I've got my toe in the door, and then everything else is cake, right? But I just had to keep looking until I got a fan, right? And the biggest way is you got a fan who's a student and they walk you in and they talk their ear off to the point they say, the only way I'm going to shut up Mrs. Jones is to do this damn thing, so let's try it. And then if you're not good enough to have them so rabidly impressed with you to have you keep coming back, you've got to figure out what you're doing wrong, right? I have yet to see a martial arts instructor who couldn't teach circles around their best PE teacher. I've yet to see that, right? I mean, you know, our guys come in and the principal is bringing down the teacher saying, why don't you teach like that? We had a couple where the principal called the district office, and the district office guy in charge of curriculum design was down there for half the day watching our guys going, why can't we get our guys to teach like that? You know, where is this enthusiasm in our day to day? And why the hell are you such a putz? You know, I mean, right? I mean, if you can't teach circles around their guys, you got a problem because they're mostly not very good, right? And Greg, you're last on the list.
Well, mainly it was I guess the events that we've, over the last 5 months, being that we've only been open for 5 months, you know, we had Harvest Festival was really big for us.
Mm-hmm.
We had the wellness fair that was really good, and then the Elf on the Shelf are
Mm-hmm.
real big home runs.
Yeah. We talked about those earlier. Fantastic.
What was the Elf on the Shelf?
What?
What was the Elf on the Shelf?
It was a shopping center deal where over Christmas they all orchestrated and had the little elf on the shelf thing in every different merchant. And then they basically made it like a scavenger hunt.
A card, yeah, to go around to each one of the stores. To
And
go
find
there,
it.
Find the elf, put the name on there. And so we didn't even put the name on our elf. We left it off. They had asked us.
Yeah.
So we had personal interaction. What's his name? And so you put the kids in there, and, you know, it drove tons. We were understaffed. We couldn't even handle the foot traffic.
Did they get a prize for?
Yeah, so all the stores donated a prize, and we donated monthly lessons, and all the other shopping donated a prize, and then there was also a $350 cash prize.
Yeah.
So there was a first and second prize tier for the scavenger hunt. I mean,
Did you
probably,
probably, or was that something that?
we all did, we had a meeting, we all said.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic, that's awesome.
The other thing in the deal is so many people would rent space in a shopping center and never even meet the other merchants, right? I mean, you've got, if you don't have everybody in the shopping center know who you are, what you're all about, what you can do for them, it's been the complete boot up the ass with any staff I've ever had for 22 years. It's like, who's the manager of that place and what's he do, and how many, do they have a list, and how many are on the list, and what, I mean, if they don't know. You know, I got it was one of our franchise owners, I got in the car with one of our franchise owners, they were having trouble with marketing, I said, where's the local community center? Didn't know. Are you kidding me? Do I have to go goddamn look it up? What exactly have you been doing? Well, I've been working on my computer. You know, that doesn't work.
Well, we even participated in it just to, like you said,
Yeah.
network. So we went and met with all the managers, and so now we're really connected with the center.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you talked much about internet marketing with these guys? Probably not much at all. As Chief Master Clark has said a couple times, the adult fitness and the adult MMA and Krav is right now, there's what in internet parlance is a huge inventory of clicks. What that means is, in Yellow Pages terms, a lot of people are opening the book looking, right? And is that going to hit again in the kids market? Perhaps. I have high hopes for Ninja Turtles, right? But right now in the kids market, there's not a lot of inventory of clicks. Therefore, there's not a lot of searches of soccer moms and Range Rover looking for 7-year-old. But there are a ton of adults out there. And therefore, if you're in any piece of the adult niche, you can feed as much traffic as you possibly could handle from online sources right now. And it's again something that perhaps we haven't done as much of as we should, but there's the complete tutorial online, right? And the key metrics, as Chief Master von Schmeling and I were talking about a minute ago, the chief metrics are unique visitors to opt-in to appointment, and we can subset it down a little bit more, right? One of the metrics that Google puts front and center for you for pay-per-click or SEO is bounce rate. What bounce rate means is I was looking for Brock Lesnar's, fight videos, and somehow I showed up at your site, and they go, ooh, that's not it, and they go away. That's what the bounce rate is, okay? So the bounce rate is they were on there for a few seconds and left. So they're searching along, and you had nothing to do with what they did. The old search engine thing, by the way, which Google almost 100% fixed with their algorithms, but the old search engine thing was to, you're selling herbal Viagra and you wanted to show up all over the damn place, and so you're cloaking and doing stuff to fool the search engines to get where people are gonna find it and click on it, hoping for traffic. But that never worked very well then either, right? Again, it's just like spam. You send 1 million emails, and it's like the herbal Viagra thing. 99.99% of the people have no interest whatsoever in the thing, and so therefore it doesn't work. But on the website, we've got to get really good at paying attention to our numbers. And again, one of our Inner Circle members, I guess, they were in Atlantic City a couple weekends ago. I'm guessing they're not going to be here this weekend. But they've got 10,000 unique visitors to their website. Well, with 10,000 unique visitors to the website, and I got to tell you, they're okay, but not great at lead capture. They're pretty good at follow-up once they get the lead. But if we make minor improvements in their conversion rate, they've got more traffic than they can handle, right? And so in that adult market, it pays to become an expert at pay-per-click. It pays to become an expert, well, when I say become an expert, it pays to understand on the big picture, the search engine optimization, then it pays to have somebody working that for you, right? That's still kind of a little bit like black science. So, Toby, at what level can they SEO themselves adequately without getting somebody good at it? All the WordPress plugins and stuff now are pretty good.
Yeah. You can use that all-in-one SEO plugin that I show you guys, or the Yoast, Yoast.
Yeah.
Use that Yoast SEO plugin. It really sets it up for you.
Yeah.
So as long as you just kind of follow the structure that it gives you, it's pretty damn good. And then it's just all about the content. So like all the blog posts that you put up, just make sure you put martial arts and shit and stuff like that.
Yeah, keyword dense.
Yeah, it's so much easier now than it was 5 years ago.
Oh God, it was a nightmare. Well, when I wrote that book was 10 years ago, and I mean, you had to have $1,000 worth of software, and you had to tune and tweak, and not going into an internet marketing seminar. And by the way, we did that last August, and it's all up on the member site. But the Google Plus thing is very important right now. Not because anybody's using them as a social network, but because Google uses that for Google. What are they calling it now? Google Places, Google Local, Google Plus Local. Google Plus Logo is essential because Google Plus Logo is local is what comes up first. And I'll talk to you guys on Thursday. But Google Plus Local is what comes up first. So if somebody's doing a geographic designator, which they're always going to, looking for martial arts, the Google Plus logo comes up way above all of the other organic listings. So you've got to make sure you've got that set up properly. And pictures and videos and all the content, you got to make sure that's set up really well. And
third word, Google Plus what?
Local. Okay. Local is if you're looking for a dry cleaner in your local area, that type of thing, right? And it's really now, it's Google's attempt to really be as good as the Yellow Pages used to be at let me find the neighborhood, whatever it is, right? But in our case, it's essential that you show up well on that. And so you've really got to pay attention to that. But again, in the adult market, we all know that fitness, kickboxing, all those things, living social and Groupon, you can pour a bunch of traffic in. And it merits really getting scientific about how you're converting them, because otherwise you just get overwhelmed. And we all know, men's MMA. And again, MMA, they don't really want to learn MMA, right? What they mostly want, you can drive, again, Krav or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai, but there's a huge amount of online traffic. And I hate to ever see an MMA school working with us, because I mean nobody's better at internet than we are. I hate to see ever see an MMA school working with us who's not absolutely sucking the life out of that, getting 100% of the traffic. And again, that's one of those. It's like being the karate guy. If they don't go search for it and see you all over the place, and then if they don't show up at your website and it sucks them in and gets a opt-in and gets a conversion from there, you're really missing the boat. And I mean, again, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this stuff was tough. Now it's easy. So, but again, it's all a matter of plugging in the right things. The biggest mistake, again, I see, you opt in at 10 a.m. and somebody calls you back at 5. And then they kind of leave that as their sole follow-up mechanism as they try to give you a call or they send you one email. And again, some of you, this is a broken record, but there was an article in the Wall Street Journal a few months ago, and it was about big retailers. So it's Nordstrom and Macy's and those guys. And the article was saying the frequency of them emailing their customer list, which again, this is not somebody coming into you twice a week. This is just somebody who bought something on their list. They were emailing their customer list between 380 and 720 times a year. Right? I mean, think about that. That's up to an average of 2.5 times a day.
I get emails from Old Navy, Banana Republic, at least 2 times a day.
Yeah. And that's the kind of frequency you have to get email follow-up to work. And for how long a period of time do you have to have that kind of frequency? until they opt out or they threaten to kill your firstborn if you ever talk to them again, right? I mean, and an email, you don't even worry about they move to Afghanistan because hell, they might move back. I mean, in practical terms, you got if they haven't opened it in a certain period of time, and list hygiene and stuff. But that that's an interesting number. That's how much you have to connect with them by email. What should you do with direct mail to a lead? See, here's at the very least what I would do. Anytime you have an event at the school, they get a direct mail invitation, they get a text invitation, they get a broadcast voicemail invitation, and if possible, a live human being calls to invite them, right? And, plus email. They get all kinds of emails. The other thing on that follow-up is that, but I was talking about direct mail, is the next thing is, we do the, done-for-you student newsletter. Truth be told, the most important thing for that student newsletter is to all of your leads and all of your inactive students. Because if everybody who has stopped attending class gets touched by you on a regular basis, you're in the forefront of their mind either for referrals, because most of them left not because they hate you, but because they got distracted, right? So you're in the forefront of their mind to get them to come back, or you're in the forefront of their mind for referrals. And something like a newsletter is a real non-threatening, non-overtly promotional way to stay in touch with them. So all of your leads should be getting that newsletter every month. So if it were me, I would make sure that all the leads were getting one promotional piece a month, they were getting at least an invitation to an event once a month, and they were getting a newsletter once a month. So there you have 3 touches per month. Over a year, you've got more or less 36 or 40 touches by direct mail, plus 500, 600 emails. And what happens with the email, by the way, is you'll initially in your mind say, how can I possibly generate that much content? But again, just the resources that we have available, use the newsletter, use the words of the week, there's a bunch of stuff. But really all you need is maybe 60 days worth of content, then you start over, right? So if you ended up with 60 days worth of content, including a whole bunch of the stuff you can just plug and play HTML in our site, and then go 60 days and start over, and go 60 days and start over. See, how many different direct mail pieces do you need to have for them? Well, I usually had 3, and I would do 1, 2, 3, start over, 1, 2, 3. That's enough. Plus unique invitations and all that. Email. If you had 2 months worth, that's at the outside of what you need. Because hell, they're not opening most of them anyway. If they do, they don't remember that they saw it. You guys listen to a lot of motivational and business material. Have you ever had the experience of you pick up a CD that's in your car and you play it, and then a few days later you play it again, and then the 3rd or 4th time you go, well, I've heard this before. Right? I mean, they're not paying that close of attention. And even if they are, so what, it repeats, right? You want to keep hitting them with the same message over and over and over again. So you don't sit down and try to figure out, how do I come up with 600 different things? You figure out, how do I end up with 10 of them and start over? Then how do I end up with 20 of them and start over? How do I end up with 30 of them and start over? And then suddenly it builds on itself, but you just go to the end, start over, go to the end, start over, go to the end, start over. Does that make sense?
And by the way, now even the content isn't all that tough. I got a guy. Let me just put it that way. I got a guy. And he just did.
This isn't like a homosexual. No, okay.
He just did 66 newsletters for me in about a week and a half. And the copy's pretty good. You got to go through and put your own stuff in because.
Yeah, the amount.
You need the content. Let me know because I mean, there's like.
Well, we've got.
It's all done.
Yeah, we've got an awful lot of stuff up online that you can just cut and paste. But then to do more personalized stuff, I mean, things like Fiverr and what's the Amazon's version?
Oh, Mechanical Turk, but they don't really like writing. But yeah, Fiverr.
Yeah, Guru.com, Elance. Yeah. But I mean, nowadays you can outsource some of that stuff. It's just so cheap and easy. It's a shame not to.
I was shocked at how good these things were. They're not great, but they're really good.
Well, they all had to be rewritten a little bit, but if you get somebody else to do 90% of the work for you, right? That extra 5 or 10% is.
And they do the copy protection stuff for you too, so they'll run your copyscape and through Google to make sure it's not really good content.
Right. And from an SEO standpoint, that's important. From an email standpoint, it doesn't make any difference, right?
But at least you know you're getting original, you're not getting like plagiarized, like directly plagiarized.
Right. Everybody understand what we mean by that, by original content for SEO? Because what Google will do is it'll wipe out duplicate content. So it'll try to figure out what the original content is, and then if it's 15 other people have duplicated it, that stuff won't show up, right? And that's across different geographic boundaries and everything else. That's that's why it has to be modified slightly in order to have that kind of SEO opportunity. Is that all making sense? And again, I mean that whole subject matter is. One is you should never do anything that's not that's too overarching. Anytime you have an event, an activity, an internal thing, an external thing, if there's any way possible to generate a mailing list and leads, then you do that, right? So you don't go to an elementary school without getting permission slips if you can avoid it. You don't go do a fair or a carnival without generating leads and making appointments on the spot. You don't do an open house or buddy day without having them fill out the form on the way in, or preferably fill out the form before they come and RSVP. But then what everybody makes a mistake of doing, and Masterman Schmeling is on the phone, but got what, a 10 million plus year operation, and the lead follow-up is lax. And so if you have a $10 million operation, how hard would it be to get it to be a $15 million? So that think about the bigger you are, the more money you're leaving on the table by not doing that. Does that make sense? Right? I mean, because what would you guess? How many leads a month is your organization generating?
I would say probably close to 1,000.
Yeah, so aggregated, you got 12,000 a year. And I mean, shouldn't you at least be able to get a 10% conversion rate out of those? And if they got called and didn't make an appointment, or if they came in and didn't enroll, that doesn't mean they're not interested or not going to enroll. It just means they weren't interested and didn't enroll today, right? So, and it's just like dropouts. I've heard you say it a million times. Why do people drop out? It's usually not because they don't like you. It's usually they got distracted, something happened, and there's some external factor in their life, and they got distracted and you didn't get them back in yet. But the same thing is true with leads. Usually, unless they're dead broke, which is oftentimes temporary, right? But unless they're dead broke, usually they came in, they liked you. You guys have a great staff, so they liked the staff member. He was attractive, he was exciting, he was engaging, and it was a bad time. Grandma's in the hospital, just had a heart attack, or we're already enrolled for three different activities, and I'm already complaining because I'm acting like a taxi or whatever it is. But that doesn't mean that August isn't the right time or October isn't the right time. And if you just drop them, what you're hoping for is that they'll remember you when it is time for them to do it, and that usually doesn't happen, right? I mean, you can be the karate day all day long and the dance studio got them, or the soccer team got them, or music lessons got them. But if we're in their face constantly, and again, they might well come in and have come in for a party or something like that, then they come back for a nunchuck night, then they come back for a ninja night, then they come back for something else, and maybe you have to get them down there 5 times for that particular one before they enroll. And again, the follow-up, text messaging is practically free, voicemail is practically free, email is free. Direct mail is the only one that has, the biggest cost is a live person calling them, right? But direct mail has a cost attached, but if I mail to them 3 times a month for a year, that's 36 times. If it costs me $1 a piece to mail to them in a year, let's say that's $40. So if I spent $40 and I could get 1 out of 10, it only cost me $400 to do the enrollment. And most of us are getting that much when they enroll, right? Or worst case, you get it paid back in a month or 2. And the number I always like to use, because it was the most constrained and focused test I ever did, because instead of being multiples, it was singles. Keith Hafner. Hafner's number. Well, he wasn't that good at advertising.
He was good at mailing stuff afterwards.
Here's what he was good at. He was good at making sure that everybody he enrolled was worth $5,000 to him, and then he was willing to spend $1,000 to get $5,000. Okay, and everybody thought he was a marketing genius, but his stuff was okay. but every student who enrolled in the school was going to be worth $5,000. Therefore, he was willing to spend $1,000 to get them. And here's what exactly his numbers were running at peak. This is plus or minus 5%. Is 100,000 a month gross. Again, plus or minus 5%, so it might be 95, it might be 110 in any given month, right? And he was spending about 50,000 on his expenses. However, that was 2 sons and brother, right? Who were getting, well overpaid, including,
Worth half that.
right. He's well overpaid in the car lease and so forth, right? And so, but still, Keith is putting 50,000 a month in the bank, right? His advertising budget in most months was in the range of $12,000 to $13,000. Note 12 to 13% of his gross, no problem. He was averaging 22 enrollments a month in order to do 100,000. How's that ratio? Pretty damn good ratio, right? So it was usually around $5,000 per student who enrolled. This number's a little under that, right? And of his 12 to 13,000, the advertising budget was responsible for about 11 to 13 of his enrollments a month. The others were from referrals. So now if you divide that out, on average it's costing maybe $1,000 to do an enrollment from media, but they were worth $5,000 a piece, right? So if I can spend $1,000 today to get $5,000 this year, how often would I do that? Yeah, I mean, in the stock market, that's a 500% return, right? Not 5%, not 10%, not 20%, that's 500%. And you see how these numbers go? And see, the nice thing, the biggest thing about Keith was he was willing to keep spending and spending and spending every month because he knew it was working. And this was mostly direct mail. And he was doing a chunk of TV. So he was doing TV and direct mail, and the bulk of the money was in, or the bulk of the money was in direct mail. But he was doing a little bit of both, a smattering of other stuff. But you see how those numbers work, right? How many schools would we both like to have that look like that, right? A ton of them. But again, I mean, it was the formula for driving it through predominantly media, and it was working like a charm. Does that make sense?
His magic was consistent, he wasn't hit and miss.
No.
Every day, something went out.
Well, and here's how the deal was. He would go buy the list once a year, which, I mean, I wouldn't tell him to do it that way if you were doing it ideally, but he'd go buy the list once a year, and he bought the list of every family with kids of the right income in Ann Arbor, and then he bought the list of all the women that he was targeting. He was targeting adult women, he was targeting kids. And then what he would do is he'd send it all to the mail house, and then he would end up with boxes and boxes and boxes of mail sitting in his storeroom. And then what he was doing is mailing 1,000 every Friday and doing telemarketing behind it on Monday or Tuesday. And then he upped it to 2,000. So every Friday they would sit there and I think they put live stamps on them. So he'd put live stamps on, 2,000 envelopes, dump them at the post office on Friday, and then put somebody on trying to call them all Monday, Tuesday. And he did that 52 weeks a year. I mean, it was just like clockwork. There was no times and it was missing. And it was every week. This was on Friday, and the follow-up was on Monday, Tuesday. And the mission was to have the mail hit on Tuesday, because that's the best time. All right, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is the best time by email and by mail to get them to pay attention. So he was trying to get it to always hit on Tuesday, and then get on the phone right ahead or right behind the call. But look how the numbers worked out, right? Just, a complete geyser of profitability. And during that period of time, it started out that he was doing 27 to 29 enrollments. And then his marketing results dropped a little bit, but his value per student escalated. So the growth stayed about the same number as the number of students dropped. And then for a while, last time I talked to him actually, he was doing about 17 enrollments a month, grossing 75 to 80. And again, you know, wildly profitable. This one went away, but I mean, other than that, wildly profitable. So, you know, as a model to look at, that's not a bad one, right? Okay, well, we have to wrap up in about 3 minutes. So, any last questions or thoughts? Our mission tomorrow is A to Z staff training and development, right? How to groom them internally, how to develop them, and so forth. And if there's something that anyone in this room hasn't gotten other than that you need, make sure you give me that feedback so we can address that tomorrow, right? And again, you know, we're going to have about double or triple, probably triple.
And we're in a different room, and I don't know which one it is. So just check the directory.
I think it's over there.
It's one of these over here, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It might be the boardroom, I don't know. But I'm going to bring some map over so you can find it, but just use that check the directory. That should
Okay.
have it up by, tonight.
Okay, yeah.
That's right, that's, you know.
Of course.
Email. You had mentioned before, Toby mentioned before, that the best type of email are just the ones that look like they're personal ones from an individual. Do you still maintain that?
Well, I would mix it up, okay? It used to be HTML email was automatically read by people as advertising, and text was personal. But that dynamic has gone away a little bit, right? But I would mix it up. And, you know, it used to be that you know, if you put their name in the subject line, you entered it like a mail merge personal letter, that people thought it was really personal. But now, you know, I mean, we were on the early adoption, works like a charm, and now we're on the tail end of death for email, right? So I would mix it up. And what I would do is, I mean, among other things, take the Kickin' newsletters, the lessons of the week, all of that. Those are all in HTML format. Send them all that stuff. And then periodically insert, hi, this is Al, I just want to follow up again. I know you were, you know, do something that really comes across as it's me to you. And variety, I think nowadays it's variety, right? Like when we're doing direct mail, it'll be everything from it looks like it's personal hand addressed letter to its big envelope with teaser copy to its full size. You know, I love those big color postcards, right? Because you can't miss them. Now those are hard to do onesie twosies, right? I mean, that's you're doing bigger numbers. And I guess maybe on the same topic, a couple of resources to make sure everybody knows about them. We use behind the scenes Infusionsoft. I don't think I'd wish it on my worst enemy most of the time, but the two comparables put together get 95% of the functionality for what we're talking about is Call Loop and Aweber, right? And there's all kinds of different email systems, but Aweber is simple and easy to use. Call Loop, I've never seen anything easier to use. Hell, even Jeff Smith can use it, right? So you know how easy that is. Yeah, and Call Loop is broadcast voicemail to live answer, broadcast voicemail to their answering machine or voicemail, and it's broadcast text messaging.
And also broadcast voicemail to live connect. So
Right.
you can have a dial, and it can broadcast the message to the person who answers it, and the message can say something like,
Yeah.
if you want to talk to a live agent, press 6. And they can use that and it'll call you. So you can be connected to them in real time.
Now here
Call.
and here's
And when you go there, go to the member site and go under member tools, under recommended vendors, because you get a break. If you use that link, it's like our NAPA affiliate deal, and they send us like 6 cents. But you get a deal. You get like low rates on the text messages like forever, and you get a break on the upfront too. It's not an expensive application at all. It's like
well, Call Loop is free. It's just a per use. Oh, did they change that?
Yeah.
Okay.
But you get a break.
Used to be free.
Yeah, it used to be a free account. And then you
Until they
pay
built their list.
Exactly. But on that, by the way, one of the things that I like about it a lot is you can go, when you set up the broadcast voicemail, it asks you what phone number you want it to come from. And in a lot of applications, it went directly to their voicemail, but they're on their cell phone hitting return call because they missed a call. And so now they're calling you inbound. They don't know what it is. They just saw they missed a call and they call right back, right? So that's really nice. So it reads out the caller ID of the number you want to put in for them to return the call. The text messaging doesn't work that way. It's a short code that comes out. But both of those can be set up as sequential autoresponder, which means that once a lead goes in, it just automatically starts going. So it can do that with text, it can do it with broadcast voicemail, and it can do it with email with AWeber. And again, you can have it go through a certain point and then tell it to start up. Now, is that in Fusion, or do you know if Call Loop can do that?
I don't think.
Okay. The other thing, by the way, that Call Loop can do is you can set up a short code. So like we have in the schools, text karate to 3263 or whatever it is, and then it automatically subscribes them to the sequential autoresponder, right? But that's one resource is Call Loop. The second resource is AWeber. The third resource is Amazing Mail. And it's not cheap, but you can do like one piece up to several pieces. Full color postcards with whatever picture on it you want, everything else. And Amazing Mail, you can put all your different lists in there. You can mail 3 cards, you can mail 20 cards, you can mail 500 cards. Now, if you're going to do high volume, I wouldn't use them because they're too expensive. But for small numbers, you can do that. The other one is Send Out Cards, which, has that interface gotten any better? I haven't used it in a while. Yeah, Send Out, Amazing Mail is like Call Loop. It's the easiest damn thing in the world to use. And with Amazing Mail, if you go in and send out a postcard, set it to send out a postcard today, you can tell it when you want them to send it. But their default is tomorrow, right? So if I go in and set up to mail out 500 postcards, it'll print it overnight, mail it the next day. And it's like clockwork. And they mail out of Phoenix, by the way. So they mail out of a pretty central location. So it's really good for you guys in Texas, right? So I mean, you might get there one day or worst case 2 days. The other, what's another comparable to Amazing Mail? There's somebody else we were using for a while. Yeah. Postcards.com is really good for they print it and drop ship it to you.
Still, Get Members still works too.
Yeah, that was the other one I was going to say. Get Members is,
Get Members is
yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
in mass.
Yeah, if you're going to do large quantity, I would always do Get Members. And if you're going to do small quantities, I'd use Amazing Mail. And if you want to do like real personalized, your handwriting, it looks like a personal note card, Send Out Cards, but it's a pain in the ass. So I don't like Send Out Cards interface, but once you're beyond the learning curve, it's really nice. Any other resources like that you know, Master Clark?
I'm asking now for who we're using for, we have an auto, I'm trying to ask who we're using. I did use Silver Pop for a while there in Monstrosity.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of them? They were
Yeah,
huge.
they
They're
had a
hard
good
to
idea.
use. They're expensive too. I mean,
Yeah. What does it do?
Silver Pop, I mean, it was supposed to be everything that Infusion is, but on steroids.
Yeah.
And it is, except you need the steroids just to keep up with it.
There is, what's the other one? Office Automator, is that the one? Office Autopilot. And what I liked about it is that they do fulfillment in-house of postcards. So you can put in the sequence, you can do postcards, and they automatically mail. What didn't we like about it?
Well, a lot. A lot. But
For our purposes or their purposes?
For our purposes.
Okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I mean, I know the direct mail interface was cool because you could set up the sequence to drop a postcard. There were like about
Yeah.
that it was cool.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly.
I know the Shulman organization now is using Salesforce.com. And I haven't.
Because they did a commercial with Microsoft. I don't know what it's for.
Yeah, I don't know.
MailChimp, that's the one we're using now.
MailChimp, yeah.
They're good.
That's email.
Yeah, yeah.
That's email.
And it's very comparable to
They
AWeber.
don't wanna respond.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so MailChimp or AWeber, Call Loop. I think that Call Loop will integrate with MailChimp as well as AWeber. I know they'll integrate with AWeber.
Integrates with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, Constant Contact, Infusion.
Constant
yeah.
Contact, the problem with Constant Contact is it doesn't do separate lists. Like, if you want 4 lists, it's like, for
Yeah.
us, we want a list for kids program, one for the
Mhm.
adult program, one for
Right.
Campaign Monitor will, and I think AWeber will.
AWeber will.
AWeber can have unlimited lists. The one
Yeah.
downside with AWeber is when you move them from one list to the next,
You got
it
to.
requires another option.
Oh, within the system?
That's what we didn't like about AWeber, so we
Oh.
have Campaign Monitor.
And AWeber requires double opt-in
Yes.
now? Oh, they don't now?
They have an option where you can turn it off.
Yeah.
It'll still send it, but
Yeah.
it's a bitch. It's just pain in the ass.
That's cool.
But
Yeah.
it's the only option. I mean, they're all getting that. Even Infusionsoft. Infusionsoft played really fast and loose for a long time, but now they're.
They've become a real pain in the ass recently.
But it's just.
But even the double opt-in, I mean, you don't have to use their generic form. So you can, what's that?
AWeber,
I think you can customize it.
you can
I-
change like 5 words.
Okay.
And people, like, when we sent it out.
So they've changed that too.
People were like, oh, I want to opt in. I'm like, oh, you have to click the link.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't get it. Like, they had a really hard time with it. But we're going with Campaign Monitor. We'll let
Yeah.
them know.
Well, if you see like any of the guys who are like selling small things off Facebook and stuff, they're all forcing you to double opt in order to get the product, right? So you'll buy and then they'll send you the link that says you're almost done, click here and we'll give you the product. But really what they're doing is they're double opting you in so that you're on their list, right? Because they could just give you the product. What they're doing is forcing the double opt-in. Yeah, but those would be my resource list immediately is get members, amazing mail, send out cards, get members, big quantities, send out cards, small, amazing mail, smaller quantities, and send out cards you want it to look really perfect.
Mostly green cards. They're kind of specialties, green cards that look handy.
Yeah, and postcard.com if you're going to order in quantity. So if you're going to do almost any kind of color printing, postcards.com will drop ship you 5,000 and it'll be quick and it's cheap and so forth. And we've got a lot of that stuff on print on demand for you on the website.
Yeah, and I've got a new vendor for all that too, so if anybody had any issues with Greg, we've got a.
Yeah, we've replaced him. Is it done?
Not yet, but
Okay.
any orders that you need done, we can send it to new people, and they're good to go.
We've got somebody who's,
Are we able
Okay.
to get the images off of the website now?
Yeah.
Like, of the postcards and the rack cards and stuff like that? Can we download those images?
It depends on what it is, and here's the point of differentiation. If it's anything that any of us in a million years would imagine you might want to print, like on your laser printer, all those art files are open and available. If it's stuff that you're going to likely have to send to a commercial printer anyway, those files are done in the format that the commercial printers want, meaning either a PSD or an AI or whatever Illustrator, right? So those aren't as easy to deal with. You know what I'm saying? So if it's like a flyer or stuff like that, we've done them in like either Word or like Publisher, something like that.
Yeah.
And those you can edit and screw around with what you want. The stuff that goes like to a commercial printer, they're.
But you have it for us to be able to give
Yeah,
them.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Just don't my people have a
Yeah.
really tough time getting this stuff.
Show me like the link that they're looking at, and I'll walk them through how to do it. It's typically at the bottom of every page. So.
All right, well, I'll
Yeah.
email you next time instead of trying to.
I got to tell you, we're now at the hundreds of thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of hours on.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, the last 90 days, you've had what, 6 people working on it for
yeah.
12 hours a day?
We broke a bunch of stuff in the process too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, here's the razor wire that we're trying to walk, right? So, I don't expect anybody to go learn InDesign. I'm a computer guy, I can't deal with InDesign, right? So that means we convert the stuff that we think you're likely to want to use in-house, like flyers and stuff like that, to Microsoft Word. Everybody can just, you can hack around a Word figure that,
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff in commercial printer, you can't give them a Word file.
Yeah.
You have to give them a high-res PDF or something in InDesign. If you want to edit it, you have to give them the core art InDesign file. So that's kind of what they're in.
Yeah.
So you can give it to them, and they can edit it for you.
That's what we're.
If you really get in like a jam, our guys can do it too.
Yeah. How far along are you in the project towards it all happens for them rather than they have to pull it out?
Which part? The email?
Yeah, Kick a Newsletter, Lessons of the Week, Black Belt Club, Leadership, Systems Trainer, Gold Team.
Hopefully about 2 weeks.
About 2 weeks.
Yeah. So you can just, but that's not manual. I mean, that's
Yeah.
that's electronic.
Right, right. But everybody understands what I'm talking about there. The next iteration, very quickly, is going to be, we just have a web form, you go enter all this stuff, and based upon the level you defined, all this stuff happens to them, right? So one of the lead follow-up steps for you will be kick a newsletter, lessons of the week. Your Black Belt Club people will get the Black Belt Club stuff, the leadership people will get the leadership stuff. Has everybody looked thoroughly through all the new leadership curriculum? I mean, it's incredible.
There's 2 months up, there's January and February are up, it'll come up about 2 weeks before the
Yeah, but it's comprehensive, 36 months, complete leadership curriculum, done.
You're sending that to the students?
Yeah, that in 2 weeks, it'll be, you give us the data, we send it out to the students automatically. Yeah, right now you get it, and then it's an HTML cut and paste, or you can print it, whatever you want to do with it. But I mean, all that stuff's done. He's done big, beautiful color posters. You can go to Kinko's or whatever and print. All of the leadership curriculum that goes out, it's all done, right? I mean, that's been one of the massive projects.
Good stuff too.
Yeah.
Context.
But understand what that is that the email goes out, there's a link, it takes them back to a web page, it has video, and video for everybody from Tony Robbins to who? Me. Yeah. Yeah. And some of it kind of generic leadership stuff, and some of it martial arts specific, because we had in the can Brian Tracy, who used to own a school, and Tony Robbins, who's a black belt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So lessons from each of those guys directly to your students, all done for you. So you don't have to, and that's been the biggest thing. A lot of the schools trying to implement a leadership curriculum, they get bogged down in trying to put the stuff together. Well, now it's just all done. You don't have any excuse, right? Okay, let's, done for now, 10 tomorrow.